The war between Israel and Hamas rages on. Hope for a swift resolution dwindled as ceasefire talks crumbled. Adding to the despair, 6 hostages were found dead in Gaza. Their bodies served as a grim reminder of the conflict's devastating toll. The world watched with bated breath, praying for a miracle. The failure to secure a ceasefire has left many feeling hopeless. The situation remains tense, with each passing day bringing more uncertainty and fear. The international community grapples with how to break the cycle of violence. The heart of Tel Aviv pulsed with anguish and anger. The discovery of the dead hostages ignited protests, transforming the city's streets into a sea of grief and frustration. Thousands marched, their voices echoing through the urban canyons, demanding an end to the bloodshed. They carried signs, their faces etched with sorrow, pleading for the government to bring their loved ones home. The protests reflected a deep national divide. Some demanded a harsher response to Hamas, their voices thick with anger. Others called for restraint, their pleas imbued with the pain of past losses. All, however, shared a common desire: peace. In an unprecedented show of solidarity, Israel ground to a halt. The streets of Jerusalem, usually bustling with life, were eerily empty. Tel Aviv, known for its vibrant nightlife and busy markets, stood still. The entire nation seemed to pause, as if holding its collective breath. Histadrut, the nation's largest trade union, called for a general strike. This call to action was not just a protest but a powerful statement. Thousands of people took to the streets holding signs and waving flags, their voices united in a common cause. The rallies organized by Histadrut were a testament to the people's desire for change. It was a desperate plea for peace, a collective holding of breath. Vigils were held, with people holding candles, their faces illuminated by the soft glow. The silence of the crowds was deafening, a powerful symbol of their yearning for peace. Peace signs were held high, a universal symbol of hope and unity. Banks closed their doors, their imposing facades reflecting the somber mood. Financial institutions, the backbone of the economy, were shuttered. The closed signs in the windows were a stark reminder of the strike's impact on every aspect of life. Hospitals, usually bustling with activity, operated with skeleton crews, focusing only on the most critical cases. The usually busy corridors were nearly empty, the silence only broken by the occasional sound of medical equipment. Doctors and nurses worked tirelessly, attending to emergency cases in dimly lit rooms, their dedication unwavering despite the challenges. The strike's impact was immediate and far-reaching. Public squares, once filled with the sounds of daily life, were now silent. Shops and businesses remained closed, their shutters down. Public transportation systems, usually teeming with commuters, were eerily empty. It served as a stark reminder of the conflict's cost, not just in human lives but also in the disruption of daily life. Playgrounds, where children once laughed and played, were abandoned. Cafes and restaurants, once filled with chatter and laughter, stood empty. People looked out from their windows, their faces etched with worry and uncertainty. The usually vibrant nation was cloaked in silence, a nation holding its breath, waiting, hoping. As dusk fell, the cityscape remained silent, the marketplace empty. Residential streets, usually filled with the sounds of daily life, were quiet. The nation waited, hoping for a resolution, for peace to return. The world watched, its attention fixed on the escalating conflict. From Washington, D.C. came a message of condolence. Vice President Kamala Harris, her voice heavy with sympathy, expressed her sorrow over the death of Hersh Goldberg Poland, an American-Israeli hostage killed by Hamas. Goldberg Poland's story, a life cut tragically short, underscored the conflict's global reach. Her words, a small comfort in the face of immense loss, echoed the sentiments of many world leaders. The international community, while divided on the path to peace, united in mourning the loss of innocent lives. Section 5. Netanyahu under fire. Criticism mounts as fighting continues. The weight of the conflict rested heavily on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's shoulders. As the leader of Israel, he faced immense pressure from both domestic and international fronts. The ongoing violence had not only strained the nation's resources but also its morale. Criticism mounted as the fighting continued, and the death toll rose. The images of destruction and the rising number of casualties painted a grim picture, one that was hard to ignore. The international community watched closely, with many leaders calling for an immediate ceasefire. Protesters gathered outside his residence, their voices a chorus of anger and frustration. The streets were filled with chants and signs demanding change. The public outcry was a clear indication of the growing discontent among the citizens. They questioned his leadership, accusing him of prioritizing military might over diplomatic solutions. Many believed that a different approach was needed, one that would bring lasting peace rather than temporary victories. Despite the mounting pressure, Netanyahu remained resolute. In numerous press conferences, he reiterated his stance, emphasizing the need to protect the nation at all costs. His determination was evident, but so was the strain of the ongoing conflict. He vowed to continue the fight against Hamas, his voice firm, his gaze unwavering. For Netanyahu, this was not just a political battle, but an existential one. He believed that the very survival of Israel was at stake, and he was prepared to do whatever it took to ensure its safety. For him, this was not just a political battle, but an existential one, a fight for the very survival of Israel. The military operations continued, with security measures being heightened across the nation. The resolve of the Israeli government was clear, but so was the growing divide among its people. As the conflict raged on, the world watched, waiting to see what the future held for this troubled region. Section 6. A mother's plea: hostage families demand action. Amidst the political maneuvering and military strategizing, the voices of the hostages' families pierced through. They pleaded for a cessation of hostilities, their words raw with anguish, their faces etched with worry. One mother, her voice trembling, spoke of her son, his laughter, his dreams, his life now hanging in the balance. Their pleas transcended the political rhetoric. They reminded the world that behind the headlines were real people, families torn apart by a conflict that seemed to have no end. Their pain, palpable and profound, served as a powerful call for peace. Section 7. A glimmer of hope, the potential for dialogue. Even in the darkest of times, hope flickers. Some whispered of dialogue, of finding a path to peace through negotiation and compromise. They argued that violence begets violence, that only through understanding and empathy could the cycle of hatred be broken. These voices, though faint, offered a glimmer of hope. They reminded the world that peace, though elusive, was not impossible. They called for courage, for leadership, for a willingness to look beyond the entrenched narratives of conflict. Section 8. The long road ahead. Implications for Israel and Gaza. The conflict's implications extended far beyond the immediate battlefield. It cast a long shadow over the future of Israel and Gaza, raising profound questions about security, identity, and the possibility of coexistence. The path ahead was fraught with challenges. The wounds of war ran deep, and healing would require time, patience, and a willingness to confront painful truths. The future remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: finding a lasting peace would require a fundamental shift in perspective, a recognition of the shared humanity that bound both sides of the conflict. Section 9. A shared humanity, remembering the victims. As the conflict raged on, it was easy to get lost in the statistics, the casualty figures that scrolled across television screens, but behind each number was a life, a story, a family shattered. Remembering the victims, their hopes, their dreams, their potential was crucial. Their stories transcended the political and religious divides. They reminded the world that the true cost of conflict was measured not in territory gained or lost, but in the irreplaceable loss of human life. The international community had a moral obligation to act. Diplomatic efforts, though painstakingly slow, offered the best hope for a lasting peace. World leaders needed to exert their influence to push for dialogue, to demand a ceasefire. The urgency for peace was paramount. The longer the conflict continued, the more lives would be lost, the deeper the wounds would become. The world could not afford to stand idly by while another generation was consumed by the flames of hatred and violence. Section 11. Finding hope in the darkness. A future free from violence. Even in the darkest of times, hope remained. It flickered like a candle in the night, a small but persistent light that refused to be extinguished by the shadows of conflict and despair. It resided in the hearts of those who refused to give up on peace, those who stood firm in their belief that love and understanding could overcome hatred and division. These individuals believed that a different future was possible, one where communities could come together, share meals, and celebrate their common humanity. Hope lived in the quiet acts of courage, in the small, everyday gestures that spoke volumes. It was in the hands that reached out to help a stranger, in the water handed out at a demonstration, in the tireless work of volunteers in conflict zones. It thrived in the whispers of dialogue, in the conversations over coffee where ideas were exchanged and understanding was built. It was in the discussions of community leaders, in the peace talks that sought to bridge divides. Hope was in the hands reaching across the divide, in the diverse hands joining together in solidarity. It was in the children from different backgrounds playing together, in the people shaking hands and making a commitment to peace. The road to peace would be long and arduous. It would be filled with challenges and setbacks, but it was a journey worth taking. It was a path that required perseverance, patience, and unwavering faith in the possibility of a better future. But it was a journey worth taking. A journey that would lead to a future where families could walk together in safety, where communities could plant trees and build a better world for their children. It was a journey towards a future where Israelis and Palestinians could live together in peace, security, and mutual respect. A future where mixed community events would be the norm, and peaceful neighborhood scenes would be a daily reality. It was a future worth fighting for, a future where the echoes of war would be replaced by the sounds of laughter, love, and hope. It was a future where people would stand together, waving flags of peace and unity. A future where children could play together without fear, where families could enjoy happy moments in the park, and where people could laugh and share moments of joy. This was the vision of a future free from violence, a future built on the foundations of hope, love, and mutual respect.